Hey guys, today we're going to create procedural string lights. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is create a light bulb. One of the most important things to do is to create a light bulb which is in the correct scale. So make sure to grab some reference and model it based on that. So first I'm starting out with a cylinder, getting it into the right shape. Next up we're going to extrude that and scale it down like this. Do another extrusion. And this is going to be a top part of our light bulb. Now we're going to extrude the bottom part. Next up, make a inset to the middle. Just make what I do is create an extrusion without any height to it. And then do the same thing, extrude it down here. Like this, and this is going to be the light bulb's fitting. So we're going to inset it inside, like this. And basically the only tool I'm using is extrude and scale. Alright, this is going to be the base of the light bulb. We'll add textures later, but for now we're just going to worry about the shape. Create a couple of edges like this, so we can subdivide it later and get a proper round shape. Alright, now what you can do is select the bottom face and press the up arrow so it will grow the selection. And then adjust the shape in case that's needed. Alright, I'm pulling it down a bit, so I'll have to add some extra subdivisions later. Yeah, I guess this is a good shape. Something like this. Try to create an even amount of polygons like this. Doesn't have to be very precise. Alright, now I'm gonna add a subdivision modifier. As you can see here in the top, we are gonna need another edge loop, just like this. To create a bit of a sharper edge. And I'm gonna adjust this shape a bit more. So it looks kind of natural. Alright, I think there we have our base shape. Next thing we're gonna do is create a shader. So just go to the shader graph and press new. First up, we're gonna create the plastic top material. Alright, we won't spend too much time on the shading because I want most of the tutorial to be about the geometry nodes. So as before, select the bottom row and grow the selection in poly mode. Then with this selected, you're going to be able to create a new material. Add one here, call it light. And now we can adjust the shaders. First up, we're going to create an object node. We can use it to randomize our colors. Next up, we're going to create a color ramp and plug our random node into here. After that, plug the color into the base color and into the emission. And don't forget to assign it. And now we can select a bunch of random colors. I'll just work with RGB. Now add a middle one. Alright. You won't see a representation of all the colors, but this will come later on. Alright, now we're going to create a plane to test our emission. If you render in Eevee, you won't be able to see it. So we're going to have to switch to cycles. And now we can adjust the strength. I think 1.0 is actually quite good. Alright, rename this. Now we're going to create another plane and let's call it GeoNodes. Doesn't really matter what it is. I like to use a plane because the first thing I do is go to geometry nodes and basically delete it like this. Oop, like that. So you won't see it anymore. Next up, we're going to create a Bezier curve. And in our GeoNodes, lock it like this, so we can just select other objects and still be able to see our geometry node graph. So what we're going to do is create another object info and select our curve. Change it to relative. Then create a curve to mesh. Alright, now we have our curve as a mesh output. Next up, we're going to create a point instance and use our light. And there we go. There's our row of. Alright, after that, Let's create a point scale. With that, we can adjust our scale of the object. I like to copy and paste these drivers like this. Alright, because the order is wrong, we should actually first convert it to a mesh and then apply the point scale. So let's move them around. Right, now it works. And we can add a resample. Again, the order matters. We should place it here. Yeah, and like this we can adjust the amount of lights that we want. Next up, we're going to create an attribute randomize. Set it to vector and create an attribute called rent road, for example. This can be anything you want. Next, we need an attribute vector math. You can set it to normalize. And again, use the rent route. Create another attribute vector rotate. No, sorry. Attribute vector math again. I'm just checking from my example file. All right. Next thing we're going to create is a attribute aligned to rotation. This will do as it says. So set it to the z-axis. Set this to attribute and take our attribute. And now our randomization will be applied. I found these values to work quite nicely, but yeah, try it. Try to figure out what works for you. You can hide this for now. We actually need this one. Alright, now we have our curve. We can just adjust it. Let's make it straight like this. And make a little bit of a hanging type of curve. And we can make a bevel. Give it some thickness. Alright, that seems to work quite good. So we slide it downwards a bit. Now create a plane. This is going to be our wall. Move it back slightly. Alright. Alright, next up we're going to go into Quixel Bridge and export a brick wall or any other texture that you like. And select it on our object. Scale it up a bit so we have a bit more space. And then we need to adjust the tiling. Let's make it 5 meters. We can adjust the tiling over here. So I'm gonna work with 0.2. Or 0.4. And we can do an extrusion like this. Alright. Then select this and set the handle type to vector. In this way we can adjust each side of it independently. And let's do another extrusion here. And again, we're gonna set the handle type to vector. And there we go. Back to the geometry nodes. And we can add some more or less, whatever the look is you're going for. We could open the shader editor over here and geometry nodes over there. Let's play with the emission. And let's create a camera. You can lock it to the camera, lock the camera to the view. And pick a nice angle, something like this. Next up, we're going to create an empty to select our depth of field. I'm just going to place it over here. Enable depth of field there and select empty. I'm going to go with a f-stop of 1.4. For a nice depth of field. Alright, and now it's just tweaking some final settings until you got what you like. And that's it. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.